Awaken.
Thank you for listening to our topic today of 3D, 5D, and I'm going to have Danielle Kane introduce herself and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm really glad to be with you. I've been very eager to have this conversation because I think I find it very interesting myself. So
Absolutely.
I am a business owner of a fitness gym, a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, and the host of the Conscious Broadcast. And so a lot of those things are relevant into the transition of my consciousness and playing in both of those areas. So really excited that, I've kind of molded both of those modalities. Well, and I guess a third modality in the space that we're in right now, kind of the conversation that we're having. So glad to be here. Thanks for letting me introduce myself.
Thank you, Danielle. We can be this person no matter what we're doing. It can be as small as making coffee or, just as we're going through our day, that we can but step into and match and merge with these dimensions that equivalate to higher feelings and emotions and being more in harmony, things like that. It's these even small little tasks throughout our day. We can continually be in this space of higher energy. And so, very important. Thank you. I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Nicole Gibbs from the Awakening Mass Meditations channel. I host Awakening Mass Meditations on the 11th of every month. You can find that in various places. And I also have an Awakening World project that started that you can volunteer and become, which is a great way in this topic specifically to literally take 3D and 5D and merge them together as a soul in this higher vibration that we're trying to stay in. So by just be aware that we can be always assisting, giving, serving in any modality that we do. I'm really excited to launch this project to clean up our planet because the planet it's shifting, we're merging up our planet into these higher dimensions. Us too, we're matching these higher vibrations, but we can't really do that when we're in this kind of cluttered and dirty space, essentially. So we do need to do the work to do that. And we can look at that internally too. We need to do the work internally. It's like weeding a garden, essentially. You can't really move from this 3D lower space to a 5D space with all this clutter and, unwanted weeds and things like that in there. They got to be tended to and cared for and understood to create that beautiful garden, which could be equivalent to 5D. So really just doing the work and seeing what we can do as an individual to bring forth these emotions and feelings of higher energies. I love, for me, going out and physically doing something really, really brings passion to my soul and really fires me up, that I feel like I'm just so in harmony and really like a co-creative feeling of everybody and everything. And that is when I really know I am in this heightened state of 5D, maybe beyond. I just really wanted to tag that in there. It can be literally anything. But, that's all I have with that. Danielle, what do you have to say on just being the little things that we do throughout our day, how we kind of come in and out of 3D and 5D?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will say someone who's even newly aware or conscious about this topic of 3D, 5D, I would consider myself shifting into an awareness or a spiritual awakening or whatever the groups we call it. It definitely shifted for me. I don't see myself in a victim mentality. I was very much unhappy. I didn't know what I was doing, like with my life. I felt this can't be all that there is. And I was just chasing the rabbit and trying to compete in my business. And I just was not fulfilled at all, to the point where it was, I would say, a very dark low point. However, in that low point, and then a lot of it had to do with my business and the finances, I had to learn to let go. And by letting go and going through an experience with hypnosis that really allowed myself to explore I finally was able to see things very differently. So I was doing more inner work. So I think that's where it really starts, is within ourselves. And speaking on like little things here and there, like I took my son to baseball today. I want him to interact. I want him to be in the now moments of exploring what he wants to do. Do I think he's going to be a professional baseball player? Do I want that route for him? I don't really know. It's whatever he decides. But someone may say, oh, well, getting into sports and doing the whole, busy, hectic schedule of parents. Is that something that's 3D? I don't know. I just go in alignment with where my children are. And my one daughter is not into any of sports. So I just go with wherever she's drawn. And what I try to do the most is keep them in nature, just like you said. The more that they're in nature, the more that they're hands-on with the earth, I feel the more connected we are as a family. We're happy. They're happier. They're running around and they're exploring. So I'd say that in this world of working, as long as we're in joy and in a happy place and there's balance, it merges very nicely. So I just appreciate having the opportunity to kind of navigate between different emotions, different lower frequencies and higher frequencies. We can't always stay in one place all the time. We're human. So I know I kind of expanded in a lot of information there, but I do feel like this space, if we want to dive into what 3D, 5D is, if someone would like to give a definition, that might be great. Because when I first was like tapping into this space, I was just like, I think differently. I see the world totally from a different perspective. And I need to do things that bring joy in my life. I'm no longer I don't have the worry mentality. I had to let that go.
Yes, I definitely love that you brought that up, because that's something I was going to, touch on a little bit too, in that it really doesn't, it's like, is this 3D that I'm bringing in? It doesn't really matter, because it's all, up here and from in here, and how we are in those situation or their environments. It's not so much the physical space as much as how we're interacting and what we're doing with that energy in that space. Like, what are we giving or taking from that at that time? It's really easy for me in my physical job, or what we're pertaining to as 3D, because we think it's, we're relating it to something that's, maybe, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but it's for the man essentially, or for something that's not so much organic, but it's something that we're programmed to think that is something we're needing to do, when really doesn't really align with our soul. And that's why we're feeling this weird disconnect. Mm-hmm. And so being in a 3D space of being in a hospital, working as an EEG technologist, I did a couple of years ago struggled with this, I need to get out of the 3D world kind of thing. But it's like, but what does that really mean? I myself can shift my dimensions, being this energetic being. It's not so much the space that I'm in. And so my perspective to shift, that I'm not just in this hospital taking on all this hate and negativity. I had to, switch my perspective to be like, okay, this is an opportunity for me. I can use this space to serve at my highest potential from my heart, from people that are in this space coming and seeking from something that's not organic, let's say, but they're going to receive something that they didn't expect, because I have this wider perspective of expansion to share my heart with somebody, to let them know that we're not alone and we're connected. And for me, that's taking that space and elevating it to that much higher energy, where we can, connect and serve and love each other. Because at that point, there's no lower vibration, because we're in love, and unconditional love is far beyond 5D. I mean, let's be real on that. 5D, unconditional love is kind of the frequency where we're heading and coming from in that source space.
Can I just make a comment? I wanted to say too that, from the space that you're coming from and the work that I've done personally, when wondering, I'm in New Jersey, and it's a place that I've grown up and lived here forever. And it has many wonders, being able to go and access multiple states, 3 states in particular. That's why it's called the tri-states. So you can access a lot of different places quickly. But I've always wanted to relocate and explore. Love looking around, and I'm very curious, and I love to travel. But I have been told in my own sessions in hypnosis that are we supposed to leave? And it's like, I'm supposed to serve here. And it's the frequency. And so when you look at a place where there's frequency and you have a lot of people coming into your facility, your hospital, whatever it is that is in fear, we are there to raise the vibration. We actually even teach this to our coaches in the training in the gym. They're like, if you're a 10 and someone's a 1, you can't come in at a 10. You got to bring it down a notch, but you want to ultimately bring them up by the end of the session. So I really relate and connect with that because that's what we all are. We're all vibration. So I really believe in our places of maybe it's something that ultimately it's not something you created, but you're working in this corporation that you're really meant to serve to the bigger picture of holding and we're all affecting each other in this life. So that's how I kind of see it as well. Because every time I talk to somebody, I really want to get to know them and I really want to embrace our relationship and hope that, there's a deeper meaning for both of us interacting together, even if it's in a brief hour exchange. It means a lot to me. What do you have to say about that, Nicole, with the interactions with the people that you've worked with?
100% agree with that. Yes, I feel like you can feel and sense that fear, that lower frequencies and emotions, the anxieties and the depressions, but being able to come into that space and meet them with, this peace, and you can literally see, it's like magic. You can see them come up. Maybe you have to come down a little, like you were saying, but the situation from where you started to where you ended is absolutely night and day, just so connected more with this intention of, just this higher serving and connecting awareness instead of coming from I'm just here, I got to do my work and I have to, it's just a simple shift. And I absolutely love that you brought that up because literally, and it doesn't matter where you are or who you're interacting with, you can create those connections as we are a oneness soul anyway. You can find those commonalities and you will if you are coming from that heart space. So,
sure,
yeah,
absolutely. And so I think this is a big deal for 3D if you're the person coming in at a low vibration and then coming in as someone that's higher, that's your client or that's a patient, then there is an issue because how are we supposed to serve? And or if you're both low, this is where I ultimately would love for people to get in tuned with themselves because everybody is here to explore and to experience, and no one should feel like they don't have a choice because we all do. And if something is not servicing you or you need to explore different options, they're there. You just have to let go and trust. The universe is totally supporting you on this journey. And it's such a short journey. But I get it. I get this reality can be heavy and dense. And I think that's why most people were like, get me out of 3D.
Absolutely. And I think too, we're, I guess 2 things to say on that. We are coming and going in and out of various dimensions all the time throughout our day. So we do have to be aware of that, even though, because like we are vibrations and our thoughts and our emotions and everything is all matched. So we might be in 3D in one conversation because we're just like really in our thoughts and we're really just like attracting this lower thing. But then maybe in a minute later, we're in a different conversation and we're talking and we're connecting and we're high vibing. We're literally going from 5D, 6D, 4D, 3D. It was like you could be anywhere at any time, but literally letting go, like you said, letting go, getting out of your own way, letting your just flow. As soon as you feel like a little restriction or pushback or a negative thought, you can just be aware of that. Once you become aware of that, then you can be more aware of the flow to come. And then you can be in those higher states more often because you're aware. But it really is, you're in and out all the time. But if you're not in flow and you're resisting, then it's just going to become that much heavier, more lessons, more trauma, more karma, all that, unfortunately. But that's
do you want to share how you kind of entered this space a little bit? Like how, like for me, I honestly was at a low point in my life where I wasn't even really aware of anything spiritually. Do you want to get into that for you?
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. So for me, I think it was Well, first of all, I guess I had the advantage of being born into a religious family, that just that there was something greater out there for energy, or just something that's guiding us, even though the religious way obviously didn't resonate with me. However, finding and learning about such as Dr. Emoto, or people that talk about frequency and energy and give examples of how we can create this energy and see the reflection back of how we are as beings. Like everywhere we're going, we're basically like the rice experiment. We're literally either telling people we love them, hate them, or ignoring them. We're projecting that onto people. So for me, being aware that we have that ability to affect others as well as ourselves was just like huge to me. That for this topic alone, 3D, 5D, I mean, once you have that in your pocket, you can now play the game essentially at a mastered level, because
well, you know that there's
the
even a
rules.
game to be played.
That's true too.
I think that's another big
do you want to mention that?
Right. Yeah. So we come into this world and we don't realize what the rules are. It's like you come in and everyone's just all of a sudden we're supposed to go, to preschool, and then we go into, grade school, and then we go into middle school, and then we go into high school and then college. Like these are all things like, who made this up, and who made the days of the week, like the 5 days a week, and how many times you need to go see a specialist or a doctor, or all sorts of things. And do that. No one talks about that you have choices or free wills to say yes or no. Sometimes you feel like I just have to comply. For me, when I first had my children, I just assumed that, going and getting my children to the pediatrician and going and getting these routine schedules I didn't understand what health was, because it was very different once you're grown up on how you decide to take care of your health. This is just a small example. But I was starting to see things and I'm thinking, well, who's making up this schedule and rules of things? And so then I realized, wait a minute, I'm the one who's deciding. I'm the parent. I'm my own person. And I'm deciding when and what I want to do, or where I want to go, or what I want to put in my body, if I want to participate in that or not. If I want to participate in going to public school, I don't have to go and do that. You could do whatever you really want. You have choices on your life. And no one really kind of tells you that. You kind of just have to fall in line a little bit when you're in this space. And sometimes it's not easy being this person. It really isn't. Like, I mean, for someone who you kind of, at first I felt very alone, and I'm like, and this is why I can understand why people might not do certain things, because it's kind of like, rocks the boat. If everybody else is on this island and then the other person is just two people on that island, it's like, oh, we're all by ourselves over here. Or it's like the whole idea of like, oh, if you saw everyone jump off a bridge, would you? It's like, sometimes we have to get back to these basic concepts of thinking critically. So I guess that's the biggest thing, is thinking, pause. How does it feel to you? And if it doesn't feel in alignment to you, and that's a big thing for me with consciousness, is that we've been detached from taking care of this individual, which is ourselves, so we can serve and work with others. It's almost like everybody else is important except this in a lot of these particular programs. Does that kind of answer what you were talking about, these rules and laws?
I mean, once we're aware of that, once we know that we are a player in this game and we have the ability to choose, you can experiment. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like, play with it a little bit. Say you aren't feeling aligned, like maybe you're like, I don't know if I should do that, but that program is just so regular that that's what you're fighting, is that program, but that what you're fighting against is your heart and your truth. Whenever you're feeling that disconnect, choose your heart this time and see if the world comes crumbling down and all these fears come alive like you're depressed and anxious about, or is it going to open up a new pathway and doorway for you to expand that much more and realize your truth and who you are and what matters to you that much more, instead of the side programs that we're routinely used to. So when we fall in love with ourselves and know our own triggers and our own things that set us off, the more we know that, the more we can say no to that and use our free will to choose what fills us up instead of just going with what the 3D program might be instead of the 5D,
Right.
whereas that's our authentic heart and harmony and co-creating and just being,
Yes.
flowing.
Yeah. And
So
I
yeah.
like to give examples. I hope that was okay to kind of
Mhm.
show an example of just very specific, not specific, but things that everyone has to face at some point, right? Where we're making a decision in our lives, and it might go against the family's, you know how some people have traditions where everybody goes to a certain college and you're like, I don't really want to go to that college, but I don't want to upset mom and dad, so I'm just going to go to the college. Something like that. Everybody, I think, has had those experiences. And here is where
Absolutely.
you're faced with what's inside and what do you really feel is the best thing to do. But if you don't mind me tapping into my business, before I became a business owner, I was in corporate America. And I was like all about climbing the ladder and like working hard. That's my mentality. That's how I got through the grade school, because it was not easy for me. The way that school was not a natural flow for me. So I had to work really hard. And here I'm entering this space with a lot of competition and just not really friendly, cohesive environment, but more like who's going to stomp on somebody else to get on top. And I quickly realized that was not for me. And when I left that reality, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is another dimension that I just didn't want to be a part of. And there's so much more. And then I entered my own business, and that was great, and exploring and stuff like that. But that even had its own pieces of challenges where it started to become more fear-based. And I had a hard time really enjoying life at one point, especially when you're adding to your family and caring for others. There was a lot of fear around money. And once I was able to realize, like, I was drawing in more, talk about laws, I was attracting the lack, so much fear. It really came to me, and it came in mutually with my codependent relationship with my husband at the time, because one person was feeding the other in relationships to make other things happen. And it was just so disconnected. And we really had to let things kind of collapse at some point to find each other again, find our way as a couple, as a family. And the business is still going and it's thriving. It's like, we can't take any more members. And I'm not even really working there full time, but we're bringing in a lot of money. And I get to now I started quantum healing hypnosis. And yeah, I'm able to make money from it, but I'm a student again, by the way. I'm expanding my practice, and I'm now with soul center healing hypnosis. And so I'm not looking at this as the perspective of I need to work hard and I need to book all these clients. Like, that is past me now. I'm in alignment of abundance because I already know it's there. And I'm creating and co-creating all the time. And so that's the fun thing, because the money is there. It's like it will, for a lot of people, when you get to that point where you know it's already there and you step and do something a little bit like almost in fear, like you're a little afraid to do it. But when you just jump into it and you know it's something that you really want to do and you already know how it's going to pan out for you, there's no way of taking away from that, because you've created the thought, you've created what the vision will be. So it will be. Thoughts are vibration. They already exist. So if you're that in alignment, there really is nothing to worry about. And I think it's the hesitation of, but what happens if this happens? But what happens? And that's where it gets tricky, because then you're drawing that into that reality. Literally. So I just wanted to share that, because I feel like I am in 5D in that sense of joy. I get to play around. I get to have these kind of conversations. I'm looking at this just to help somebody else expand themselves, who might have been someone like me, who literally was like almost throwing in the towel and being like, I'm worth nothing. I don't know what I can offer to people. We're barely making ends meet. How am I ever going to live up to what my children need from me? I was seriously at the lowest point and wanted to dig a hole and sit, and hide. And so I was able to come out of that. And I feel like so held by so much. I really do be held by my brothers and sisters who I've connected with, like you, Nicole. And it's really a great place to be in. And I'm still human. I'm not some mystic experience all the time where I'm not feeling and all these great things are always happening. Things happen along the way, and those are the emotions and the experiences we're supposed to feel. But if you love something that much and you stay the course of what you want, there's nothing that's going to take that away.
Absolutely. Wow. That's just so motivating, Danielle. I mean,
Yeah.
You are just like the pure example of what it can be when you just put your all in and take the jump and flow with no resistance. That's honestly how it happens. And yeah, like we were mentioning before, you'll have those intrusive thoughts that may attract that, the opposite, the lack of. But again, mastering that thoughts to be like, I'm bringing in my mission, my like everything that I am imagining, I'm manifesting it. It's happened already. I'm already living it. I mean,
Yes.
it's over at that point.
And we've worked with that together, Nicole. I remember, Nicole, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your project and how we worked on it in a little bit to begin with. And I said, you planted the seed and see what will come. So share a little bit about that, because I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. So I knew I wanted to create this Awakening World project, something greater to, help the world clean up, become more, whole and harmonized. But I had the idea, I had pieces, but I still had a little bit of resistance because I really wasn't, I don't know, I just really didn't feel like I was all in, I guess I could say. And so by talking to Danielle and seeing other just amazing possibilities and potentials that this project could be, I let go of all things. Honestly, it's a letting go. And it's hard to really explain what letting go really means. It's just those fears that I was thinking all the time. I'm just decided, okay, what if I'm not thinking that? What if it did work? What if, and so just saying the opposite of what you're always thinking, I just went all in. I put all my energy and time into it. I really focused on making this happen. I was envisioning it actually before I was going to bed, of just letting it be. And I was just imagining it happening, people volunteering, getting their packs, doing the work, cleaning the planet, becoming harmonized, falling in love with each other. Like all of this is something I was imagining regularly. And it really wasn't that long before everything really started to click. The website got put together easily. The ideas for how the impact, what we're calling it, is going to be coming together, just sending it out and then attracting the volunteers to then come and be wanting to be a part of this. It really did start with the pebble I had to drop, but I couldn't have that resistance to be like, should I throw it? I don't know. You have to do it. You just have to do it and then let it do its thing. So I was so happy to get out of my own way, essentially. And thank you so much, Danielle, for being that voice and support that we need and that I need. And with that, though, why I say we're never alone. We're not alone ever. So if you are wanting to do something, there's anything and anybody is doing the same thing somewhere else. You can find that momentum, that support, that just little seed that you need to plant, to drop, to allow it to flourish.
Absolutely.
So exciting.
You hit the nail on the head there. I honestly always felt like I was this strange person, the weirdo of the group. And I was like, I just want to blend in. So I did whatever I could do to blend in, even though I really couldn't blend in. I did the best that I could. And as soon as I embraced my authenticity, I can't tell you how much love and support that I've had. And I've got to meet you, be part of the summit and more. And even with starting my podcast, it's like, I didn't know what I was doing, but something inside was like, you're going to do this podcast. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this podcast. And I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be more than that. It's going to be very interactive at some level. And you're going to meet a ton of people. And it's going to be practice for something later down the path. But our support, your support, like, I can't tell you how many people were like cheering me on. And it's like, I remember when you and I chatted about your concerns about the project. I said, Nicole, it's all in time. It's already happened. And you're like, okay. I remember you saying, I'm just going to take that. And I'm so grateful to hear the volunteers that have started already.
Absolutely.
So so I say this to anybody, if there's something that's really burning inside, because I can't tell you how many people will say, I've always wanted to do this, but I just can't. And I'm like, why? Oh, because of this and this and this. And it's like, well, that's already a thought or a dream that your heart's desiring, that you're completely disregarding. Maybe it might not happen now, but maybe you look at the bigger picture of like, there has to be something that you bring in. I think in order to get this space of higher consciousness, you have to take care of the inner being that you are. If you're totally like a shell inside, you'll never get what you want. Would you agree, Nicole? If you're completely just disregarding any kind of like healing and or attention and or drive, would you say that someone would be fulfilled? I have a hard time, because I was that person that wasn't. So
I can actually, second that, because I think we all have experiences in this as we're growing, because it is a learning process. And I too, I mean, a few years ago, I could be that one that I don't want to say, I guess I didn't feel like I needed help or that I needed anything. Like, I'm good, I'm got what I need. I trust everything I believe in. I know I'm right, like all these things, to the point too that I was like having arguments with people that I just felt so passionately about, that I was just like, how could you think that? You're so dumb, all this stuff. Like, that's so negative. That's so 3D and low. Like, the fact that I thought that I was good in that space makes me really appreciate how far I've come. I guess I could say that. And so just, I guess it was the pandemic time for a lot of people, being able to reflect without the regular routines to keep us in the program. We could really see, okay, why am I so heated and passionate about this? Come to find out throughout other research, it's not even true. So what was I holding so tightly onto this false program that I was just like, I'm right? That just made me sick almost. Like, I was getting
Nicole,
so
and
worked up, so anxious.
I think that's really interesting. I'm so glad that you said that, because that was a perspective for me, that it took judgment. Judgment was one of the, sorry if I cut you off, by the way, but judgment was huge hurdle for me. And judgment of myself mostly, but then judgment of others. And we're all like a mirror, right? Reflection of each other. But at some point, realizing with that judgment, and it could be that you're thinking of something in a positive thing, but you're like, you don't think the positive thing's great, then you're wrong. You're really putting yourself in a polarized place of and really causing the negative. It's almost like you're flip-flopping and you're interfering with someone who has every right to believe and act what is their mission in life. Interfering is doing way more harm. Someone in this practice that I'm doing now, Soul Center Healing Hypnosis, she says, you can't open a seed from outside, you'll kill it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. The seed has to sprout from within. So you'll be just like you said. So every time we might be like, come on, we want to help people because we care so badly, but we didn't realize that we weren't allowing them to experience exactly what their soul planned to do. And so I found that to be very challenging for me. And then I realized, wow, it's not about being hot. When we're talking about this higher vibration, it's not necessarily being more positive, but it's neutrality. Really, it's having empathy and sympathy and holding space for somebody that is where they are and needs some love and support. And also, sometimes we have others that may have had their conscious awareness sooner, where sometimes I feel like they're disconnected because it's like, I have all these superpower skills and I'm a little bit higher than everybody. Nobody's higher than anybody. Everybody is exactly where they need to be in this incarnation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if we're on the same frequency of what you were saying, but
no, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. And when we have that instead of shifting that judgment to non-judgment and just accepting all perspectives for what they are, because they're just as valid. I mean, every experience is just as important as any other for the grand experience that we're having as a whole. And so to be able to disregard someone's perspective, it just really defeats the whole goal mission that we are doing. And just flipping that around, how does it make you feel when you are in those heated conversations, or if someone's coming on to you being like, we've all been on both sides of that, and it doesn't feel good. We can say that from a whole, but when we do have the experiences where it's the other way around, where we can have the conversation where you come with non-judgment. You just share your thoughts. It's a sharing instead of an attacking, let's say, where you're just like, what about this? Have you thought about this perspective? And just let it be. You just let that seed be for them. If they want to do the internal work with that, they can, but you can only go so far with that. And then the non-judgment will never be an issue because you're allowing them to do what they want with that information.
Right.
So I think that's really important, to allow others, like you're saying, the allowance to just do what they will with it. It's okay if they don't have that same perspective, because later on it's going to grow to be another pathway that maybe you needed that perspective that you couldn't see. Like, we all need different perspectives to see. Like, you helped me with seeing a perspective of my project. Like, I couldn't quite see it, but a drop of seed was able for me to water and let it grow and do. So it's still good to share what you're feeling, just not with all the aggression.
Well, and it's funny too that you were talking about allowing in the thoughts, and sometimes the thoughts aren't even the person's thoughts. And I think that's where the frustration might come in, is where it's an idea of some type of propaganda that is, you can clearly see because you've heard it and you're like, okay, so do you even argue that? At that point, it's like, that's not their thought, but it's become a belief system. And there really is no time to have a discussion. It just becomes an argument. And I know that space. I mean, the political space, for example, it's a theater. And it really is a hard space to have discussions, because people get so heated over thoughts that aren't even theirs because of what they see. And we have to remind people that in theater, what do they have in movies? It's a movie. They have a set.
That's script.
There's like the back screen. This is all what happens in the media. Not anything where you're like on the ground seeing things happening. It's not. And I think we have to remember that. We have to remember that this is a show.
Right. And
we still have lives to live. This is reality. These shared conversations are lived experiences. And I that's the only way that I've learned, is by watching some other things in my reality be a possibility. You know, for a while, things that I didn't know could be a possibility of letting go, for example, because my fear was how ashamed I would have been if I went into bankruptcy and lost everything. It'd be the worst thing ever. Yes, nobody would want that. But at some point, that's the game. There's a game at play. This is what Nicole we were talking about earlier. And you kind of have to be like, okay, you want to play the game? I'll play the game, because ultimately I'm going to play the game of abundance. But I have to get out of some of the old stuff I didn't know I was playing to then create this new space. So sometimes something that appears to be bad is really your portal into something different.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that. And too, like you were mentioning, with the fact that we can be so attached to these other, programs or scripts going on, the fact that our emotions are so attached to something that we see. I mean, right there is something really big you need to take a look at. That something that's playing on a TV screen is allowing you to feel all this depression or anxiety that's making you go down and do this path or whatever. That this information has that effect on you really can open the whole thing wide open.
Well, you think of what is the TV? Tell a vision, right?
Literally.
And what do they have? Channels, right? Exactly. I mean, it's that's fun when you can look at it, when you really understand the game that you're participating in, and when you decide to see something, you're choosing, in a way, you're choosing to not want to say comply, but if you're going to see a movie and you know that going to that movie, you ultimately find out and see some things, you're like, okay. You start to see that they put messages in there. And in that way, they kind of, whoever is behind the big curtain of the play, they wanted you to know. And some people just like, it goes right past them, but that is complying to, in those messages that you're going forward with what ultimately could happen. And it also is fun when you see like, oh, okay, I got it. I got what you're trying to do here. And it could be a positive or a negative thing, but I love the performances where something really negative happens, like you have that villain and then we win at the end. And it's fun to see both sides of what's going on. But It is all a theater, really. And if we can just get more in tune with our now moments, with our family, our friends, our individual joys, that's what's most important. This external world we've given so much attention to. And I think it's harmed a lot of people.
Yes, for sure. And that's one thing that I love about what you do with the conscious broadcast.
Yes.
I mean, what you are doing and what you have created is literally just that. We can hear people's real life stories, like our movies that we're creating. What if we want to tell our movie story instead of the one that's always going on? This is how we can hear that. And then those are the things that we can align with. Like, I'm going through that. I'm feeling that. I've experienced that, instead of like, oh, I'm supposed to be feeling that while I'm experiencing that, instead of like being told how we're supposed to be going into it. When we hear from authentic, just regular day in the life experiences, what you bring forward, we can really just see our space as an individual here. We have so much free will, so much choice, but at the same time, we're never alone. And we also connect and align on so many things through the collective consciousness. And I did want to bring it back a little bit to, like you mentioned before, how you felt like forever that you were kind of like the weird one, or like kind of the outcast in a little way. I know many of us agree with this. I mean, that's why we do these programs, to fit in, right? So we can have those not weird moments, but we're all weird. Let's accept it. We're all crazy and different and weird and individual.
And it's good to be that, right? It's okay
amazing.
to own your authenticity, your individuality in this specific space in time, right?
In the show collective. Yes.
Yes.
Going through those experiences as an individual, we see that we're collective. That's the beautiful thing. So yeah, I too can have those weird moments where, even in growing up and going through grade school, I always forget that this is something that happened in my path. But in high school, in my junior year, my mom actually took me out to homeschool me for 1 year, which at that point made me super weird, right? Because that's not the normal program. So now I'm even more weird than I was. And so I only did it for 1 year, and I came back my senior year, and it was like a whole nother world. Even though I went to school with and knew these people my whole life, because it was a very small town, that 1 year, literally, I feel like just made me so aware of my individual self, I guess. So going back, I just realized how everybody really is the same. That made me feel even more weird. Like I was standing out more, but I was just seeing my space and how I am. Like, this is who I am. It's okay. And so I was able to, with that, accept my weirdness and just be my authentic self. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I'm just going to be myself. And that's okay to have that, that perception of, I'm just going to be myself, and you can take it or leave it kind of thing, because be yourself and watch how happy and passionate your soul grows, and you attract these things into your life that you never would have saw. And those are the things you're like, I always wish I would have done that. You can now do that because you're finally yourself, the weird one, and it's okay to do that.
I'm so glad you shared that. As you know, I've homeschooled, and it was not a plan of mine, although I think that my significant other always wanted to do it, and I still homeschool. And I think every experience, it's interesting how we all go through these moments of, well, here we go. Am I going to get how I got to tell people, I homeschool, and here we go. What am I going to get? What am I going to get from the space that I'm in? And it can be tough, but you just step in and be like, I really don't care what people have to say, but I to some level still, I think, genuinely try to keep it neutral and not go into the conversation of having to explain myself in certain spaces, where when I go somewhere else and I can share openly, I like it. And I think that's another way for everyone to kind of find their tribe. You navigate, you kind of put a little bit out there, and you feel good where you want to feel good. We're not saying that just because you're someone who might be a little bit different than somebody else, you have to go shouting among a group of people that might not be in alignment with you, so you don't feel great. But I find when you finally stand in your truth, you draw those people in your life. And I know that I have. And I was alone because I didn't do it for many years. Many years I felt like I just I don't know anyone that's at some type of level like myself. And it was very lonely. I mean, even my husband, we it's different. It was different. He's my spouse. We work on things together. This whole journey is work between us. But just genuinely feeling on the same page, something like you and Nicole and I didn't have that. I didn't have someone where I could really truly tell some of the deepest interests or questions, curiosities. Because if I said that to certain people in my reality, they think I'm a joke. They think that's weird. We can't even think about that. Can't even talk about those things. And I'm like, well, I wanted to talk about those things because I really think it's an interesting topic and I'm curious about it.
Yes.
So I would say to anyone who has some interest and wants to explore it, there are tons of people out there waiting to connect with you, and you'll enjoy and expand yourself more than you know as soon as you open up and stand in your truth.
Absolutely. And many of us on this path, I mean, if you're already listening to these kinds of videos, I mean, you're already wanting it, that and living that essentially, and you can become more of that, master that by, creating your own routines that fuel you, that motivate you, that give you passion of your joys and peace within. I mean, all those things, you can really master that feeling of 5D or beyond, because these higher vibrations and feelings is, the reality we create and live in. So we're all living in different dimensions. Maybe you're in 3D, I'm in 4D, whatever.
You're in your own dimension, just in you, Nicole, like you're in your own
exactly.
Holographic reality.
Exactly. Just simply with my thoughts and my emotions. So that's the more encouragement to be more individual.
Right.
Because, we're creating our own. And the last thing I wanted to say with that is by doing the work regularly, what does that really mean? I mean, we're listening to these videos. That's a great thing. Fill yourself up with positive conversations every day, doing a short meditation or just going within, doing any type of work outside or any type of just thing that fuel you, really. Anything that's not the program, and you will really just fuel yourself up. And I mean, the programs become less and less strong, that you feel obligated because you're now creating new neural pathways and new wires for you to
absolutely.
To become.
I think grounding is one of the easiest ways to tap in so quickly.
Yes.
I walked before here. Actually, I did do a little bit of gardening. And that felt good. Like I just like to upkeep and make things look nice in the front bed. And I was barefoot and I was walking in the grass, and it just felt really good. And then there were some things where I'm like, these weeds are supposed to be here for me. And that's something that I've learned with through various nature groups, how some of the plants and even some of the weeds are actually purposely put in your path because they're supposed to be meant to heal you for whatever ailment you might get. So I found that fascinating. So I have quite a few dandelions around. So I'm thinking I might need to make some dandelion tea. So just know that. And if you're interested there, I have that's a whole other topic. But it's really amazing how the earth is servicing us. And we're so detached at times because we're focused on whatever our workload has us do, or we've made that checklist that I got to get done. And so, like you said, if we step outside and we get a little bit into nature and make that on a checklist or that a routine, then that can balance out those imbalances. And it can be tricky. It's never easy. It's never all the time. But how great does it feel when you go to the beach and you put your feet in the sand and the water is crystal clear and it's just so soothing? Or you go on a walk to the park and it's a beautiful day and everyone's outside saying hello and you're actually making these like raw connections. This is something that everybody can do, like now.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great reminder to, how we can get back into these higher, maybe 5D, if we're talking about that. You're feeling 3D right now and you want to feel this more 5D, literally just go outside for a second, and you will start to retune your frequencies, get away from the lower vibrations, and just, become into that oneness space. So yeah, I really, really thank you for bringing that up. It's a very good point. And something that Erica mentioned beforehand that I wanted to bring up, that she had said that
Andrea?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Andrea. Yeah. Andrea brought up that whatever we're doing throughout our day, I mean, it's just the perspective. Everything we're doing, we can do it with a higher perspective. So even though our daily program might still be part of this show or this next level, essentially, just do it with a higher awareness. Do it with an open heart. You can literally do every little service. If you feel like it's a burden or a chore or something, shift your perspective to service to others, that this is something that will eventually create a neural pathway for you to find what you are loving. Something that may seem tough and hard is an opportunity to grow and expand, even though it may seem, negative and, fearful or depressive, and these 3D feelings. By just going through it, go through it and watch the transformation, because that's the energy shifting. Energy never really goes anywhere. It can only transform and transmute. Another example I have that I always hear this story, and I love this so much, is how often are you, when you're driving on the road or driving somewhere, and somebody is on the side of the road with their hazards on or their lights up or something, and everybody's just driving by, everybody doesn't even pay attention. But put yourself in those shoes. If you were that person, you're literally, you just need a connection. You need service from others. So just that.
You muted yourself.
For me.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. So being the one person that stops and pulls over, that gets out of your comfort zone, that does that hard thing that you always are like, that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want it. By doing the thing that makes you feel uncomfortable and getting out of your comfort zone. I'm so sorry, I'm getting a call. Doing the thing that is uncomfortable is what will fuel your soul to literally reach higher vibrations, higher feelings, higher emotions. Do the hard thing. It's literally an experiment, and play with it. So yeah, that's all I want to do with that.
Well, you talked about Joe Dispenza quite a bit. And even just a concept that I think a lot of us knows, the glass is half empty, the glass is half full. How you want to perceive something. If you wake up in your day and you're automatically thinking, oh, I have so much to do, and I got to feed the kids, I got to go in, I got to work, and then I got this thing at night. And already you're deciding how you want to go about your day. Yes. And so everything that you now just thought about is going to be negative. Or you can wake up and be like, my kids are home today. Can't wait to sit and have breakfast with them. And then we got this other activity to do. And I can't wait to do that panel call tonight. That's going to be so fun. How different are those two scenarios? But it's the same storyline. And that is like 3D, 5D. It literally is parallel. And you can go in and out. And yeah, maybe part of the day is like really low, and then you go really high. And that's what we talked about. Every minute is like a new dimension, is a new space, is a new thought, is a new interaction. And so let's be mindful of that and staying at the best, try to be the best version of ourselves. Let's take a minute to feel, because if we don't feel, then we can't express ourselves, and then we're holding on to something. But if we have to feel and have our moments, you and I talked about that. Sometimes it's not a great feeling and it has to come out, because maybe like, man, I must have been storing that energy for a long time because I just lost it. I mean, everyone knows what it feels like to lose it. And then quickly thereafter be like, oh my gosh, I feel badly. I don't know what that was, but my soul needed to get rid of that. And so now I can move on. I can have a conversation. I can tell that person I was here and there was something inside me that was bottled up, and I'm glad that I'm able to release it. And I'm sorry that it came across on you, but I'm better now and I'm ready to move on with my day. And that is like a win in that moment, because that's what we're here to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I feel that 100%. I mean, that's motivating in itself.
Yeah.
Just shift the perspective, and I mean, you'll just see it that much better and different. You'll live it that much better. So it's literally that simple. So,
It is. Yes, absolutely. And I would say that's something that I've learned about triggers of that person that you might talk to that might trigger you. And I've tried often to be like, okay, what's something that I could do, or what's something that, and I kind of was just like, don't hold on to the fact that that person may say something that triggers you. Because then it's always like, I'm already entering the conversation triggered or in that space.
Exactly.
Just go into that person saying, this is a person that loves you. It's a person that cares for you. Maybe you're not in alignment with everything that you agree on or say, but be grateful that they're in your life. And I swear, it's like all that other stuff went away. Yes. And I just had to make the decision. I had to decide love. And that's that space that you talked about earlier. So I would say that to anybody else, if there's that one person in your family that just gets to you, try just pushing all those experience out and say, this person really loves me. They love me. They wouldn't be in my life if they didn't. So I'm going to share that space with them of love when I talk with them and see how it turns out for you.
I love that. That's a great example. We can all do that. Just see everybody for the innocence and childlike innocence that we all are within. We all are this childlike innocence. So yeah, I love that. Very, very good. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for talking about our 3D, 5D. So Danielle, if you would like to share with us, how could we find you and the things that you're doing and bringing to the collective?
Great. Thank you. Yes. So I can be found at EvoFitNow or evolutionfitnessnow.com. That is my fitness business. And I also am attached some of my quantum healing hypnosis work that I do, QHHT practitioner. But my most active project is the Conscious Broadcast. And you can find that on YouTube at the Conscious Broadcast. And that's where I post a lot of my content with shared experiences and stories.
Very good. Thank you, Danielle. And those stories, the Conscious Broadcast, it's so good. I highly recommend everybody checking those out and connecting with the collective. And for me, my name is Nicole Gibbs with the Awakening Mass Meditations. You can find, be a part of and join regular mass meditations on the 11th of every month on Telegram, YouTube, Facebook, or my website, all Awakening Mass Meditations title. So please be a part of that and join that. And then also, we kind of mentioned before, the Awakening World project that I've been working on. You can become a volunteer also on the Awakening Mass Meditations website. By filling out a form to become a volunteer, you can receive a ops impact to clean the planet around us. It comes with a garbage grabber, some reusable gloves, biodegradable garbage bag, and a crystal bracelet and some seeds to plant. So if you would, yes, Danielle has the crystal
bracelet.
Thank you so much for your support. So yes, if this resonates with you and you want to get your pack and start cleaning in your local area and just making this 5D more and more anchored in and raising up higher energies, I would love that. I also have binaural beats, music, and solfeggio frequencies that I also create that are on my YouTube channel and my website as well. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I hope you feel aligned with that and want to check it out. So thank you. And I hope you have a beautiful day.